Good morning. I'm reporting out on first Master Speaker series with at GreenBuild 2011 with Amory Lovins. I've watched Amory Lovins' career for a long time. He's an amazing brain, and I think of him as our modern day Einstein when it comes to the nexus of energy and the environment and public health. So the description for this talk is that Mr. Lovins will discuss Rocky Mountain Institute's new publication called Reinventing Fire, which shows how to run the 2050 U.S. economy with no oil or coal or nuclear energy, with 1/3 less natural gas and a $5 trillion lower present valued cost, ignoring all externalities, compelling business models that drive the transition, and smart policies to speed it without requiring an act of Congress, and shifting the electricity system to efficiency and renewables. So this depends critically on super efficient buildings, where integrative design prevents important opportunities for expanding returns. So I'm going to give you highlights. This was a very dense presentation. But he started out with, some basic stats, like 90% of our energy in the world comes from fossil fuel. Actually, he described it as swamp goo. He said this is a huge cost to security, economy, health, and environment. And that our current system is old, fractioned, needs major refurbishment, so it's a great opportunity to try something new. He pointed out that we spend $2 billion a day on oil, and that doesn't include the externalities of human health. And when you include all the externality costs, it's really $4 billion a day. He first started with transportation and how cars are really heavy, and that there's been major advancement on advanced materials, making them lighter, as well as the manufacturing process, as well as propulsion. So he's calling it vehicle fitness. And with those three things, materials advancement, manufacturing process, and propulsion, cars are going to become way more efficient and way lighter and easier to build. He talked about something called carbon fiber that cars are going to be made out of very soon, basically starting in 2013. And he passed around this bowl that was made out of carbon fiber, and it looked like and felt like a bowling ball material, but very, very, very light, and it's stronger than titanium. So it was pretty impressive. He was also saying new cars are going to be built with not a lot of parts to its shell. So he literally showed us a car that has 14 parts to it. So it's great for assembly and great for disassembly and reuse. And it's called ultralighting. He talked about incentives in Europe called feedbacks that are making incentivizing these new ultralight cars. He pointed out that 96% of the time our cars are idle, so we only use them 4% of the time, and it seems like an unused resource. And so he talked about them as being used during the day when they're parked, storage, battery storage, and sources of energy out of those batteries. He talked about his own house, which was just really impressive. It's in Colorado, an old snowmass area, and not only is he completely off-grid, etc., but he was talking about how his one arch that was in his greenhouse or his conservatory, and he's had 36 crops of bananas, and high. He has over 100 species in his conservatory. But he was saying how one white arch has one cost but 12 functions. So thinking deep into integrated design was very cool, and how he was proposing it. He showed us a bunch of buildings with major integrative design and savings all across the board. So the Rogers Federal Building in Denver, the NREL Research Facility in Golden, the Oregon Health and Science University, the Deutsche Bank Twin Towers, the Fossil High School in Colorado, and even a brownstone townhouses, affordable housing in St. Louis. He mentioned a great website for lots of resources called retrofitdepot.org. That is retrofitdepot.org. He talked about all the retrofits that can happen with pipes. So we have pretty much overpiped and over-engineered a lot of our buildings, and he proved without unequivocal doubt to me that fat, short, straight pipes reduce friction and therefore save energy. In his house, his pipes alone, by doing that, saved in the pipe, if you just measured the pipe, saved the energy by 97%. He talked about doing the right steps in the right order and measuring the right thing. So he talked about start with cooling people rather than cooling the building. He talked about RMI's, that stands for Rocky Mountain Institute's, partnership with Autodesk and how they're trying to get the software to really help those in the building industry to go to a factor of 10 in integrative design. So it's called 10xe.org. That's 10xe.org. He also said that there was a bunch of studies and resources through his lecture that he has done at Stanford, and that's at rmi.org/Stanford. He says, don't compromise. If you feel like you're compromising in your decisions on a design, then you don't have the right design statement and go back to the drawing board. He said that U.S. is losing out on a lot of opportunities, that China has surpassed its 2020 wind target in production. Denmark is already doing mass distributed energy. He made a little joke saying that not all fossils are only in the fuel. And it sounds like his book, again, Reinventing Fire, which I'm going to buy, and anybody can borrow, is really cutting edge. I mean, this presentation, again, I highly, highly recommend everybody watch it from the chapter. It's very dense, but it blows you away about what we can do in the future. So he ended his talk by saying, let's work together to make the U.S. richer, fairer, cooler, and safer. And that's my report from my first session at 2011 GreenBuild. Thanks.